You have found Firebirds Weekly, a show about everything Firebirds. Thank you for stopping by. Game analysis, highlights, stats and trends. Firebirds Weekly. Beyond the headlines, please welcome
head coach of your Albany Firebirds, Damon, Ware.
Here we go. We're back. We're on now, finally. I'm Adam Samarov. I'm one of the co-hosts for the show, along with my other co-host, Chris Upperly, and we have maybe our best guest to date, head coach and general manager of the Albany Firebirds, Damon Ware. Damon, welcome for being on our show. We really appreciate it.
No, this is awesome. I think you guys are doing a great job. I'm happy to be here, and let's hope we can beat Benny and Nick's episode.
Yeah, they're sitting in first place at around 3,600 views. So anything under doubling that, I think we wouldn't be hitting the mark with you, Coach. So
Agreed.
Let's make it happen.
Agreed.
All right, so we wanted to, find out, who is Damon Ware. Let me, where did you grow up, and where did you go to school, and how was football part of your life as a young kid?
Got a long list of athletes in the family, so it was in the blood early. Obviously, born in California, raised in California. After my parents spent some time in California and Colorado. So that was kind of the journey early. California's a great place. It's just a lot of great athletes. It's a lot of competition, and growing up in some of the bigger states, so the Texases of the world and the Floridas and the California, you find out quickly if you're an athlete or not. And it's I just think that starting off in a place with so much competitive spirit was just great in my development. So went to a couple different schools, Pasadena High School, Irvine High School, obviously Cherry Creek High School as well. So bounced around a little bit, going back and forth between the parents' houses. But my first love was baseball. I was a travel baseball player, played baseball big, and that was really my first love. And so my dad being a football player, everything we did was football related. My dad played at University of Cal Riverside when I was young. So we were at the games and all those kind of stuff from a very early age. So, that all of those things kind of transform you into who you want to become. And so, there's nobody better than you want to be than your dad. If you have a good relationship with your dad, you always want to be like them. So growing up, seeing him play at UC Riverside, he was a record holder. So that kind of gave me my first real piece of football. And it was just something that we did together. And so it was a special thing to start my young sports career. But like I said, baseball was my bigger thing. Played travel baseball, played, baseball a long time. Again, starting in lacrosse. I mean, a lot of people don't know. Again, I was one of the top goal scorers at the high school level. With that as well, we had a NHL hockey player that lived on our street, and so he was getting ready to move and got traded, and so was getting rid of the house and came down. He's like, "You're the only kid I see on our street that's always out doing some kind of sport." And he goes, "I want to give you something." And so came into his garage. He had this huge box, and it was, baseball mitts, baseballs, and there was a bunch of lacrosse sticks and a bunch of lacrosse balls. It was hockey sticks. It was a little bit of everything. And it was the coolest gift I think I ever had. I'll never forget that moment. And my mom won't forget it either. I probably put 30 holes in the side of the house with the lacrosse ball. And so that was another thing that was huge in my life. Early was lacrosse as well. But, obviously football was the thing that made everything kind of tick. And it was the thing that the family was very much into. And so that's the direction that we headed. And I couldn't have been more pleased with what just kind of happened. And so my story is it's a story more of a lot of injuries. And so that's, my career wasn't as long as maybe some other people's are. And like I said, I love my story because, like I said, I came out of high school, my senior year, tore my ACL. So that changes just how you're getting recruited. Ended up going to Knoxville College and HBCU. And again, I was kind of in that period where it was big backs versus little backs. And so I played a little bit of everything. I played in the slot, I played running back as well. And just through that whole genre, it started to develop just my overall thought process about what football was. And so I got to be with different coaches. My head coach was a crazy guy that talked real crazy, and so I got a kick out of that. And again, so in college, career starts off very good. Boom. Then I tore my rotator cuff and my labrum. So then there's that. Then, I got a hip pointer in a game. Then there's that. And so, it was disappointing because I was such a high level athlete, started all these different sports. And then as I get into college, it was just one injury after another. So I spent a ton of time with coaches. And so doing my rehab, spending time with coaches. And so I developed this love for culture and philosophy and mechanical things. And so that was kind of in the bloodline. So boom, leave there, go into, went over Europe and played some indoor football. And then I tear my Achilles. And that was really, for me, making, $500 a week with a torn Achilles. Laid on the couch, leg up. And I was just like, this just isn't the plan for me.
Right, and what's next?
It's like making $500 and I got to lay up for 2 months. I'm thinking, how do I pay my bills? How do I do all these things? And so one of my coaches, he was like, you're like a coach on the field. Like you just know all the details. So he was like, have you ever thought about coaching? And at that time I was like, no, I really haven't. I think about football all the time. I think about all these aspects of it, but I never really thought, you always dream, hey, I'm going to make it to the NFL or I'm going to do all those things. And so he said, hey, I got a coach friend of mine. He's looking for a coach. And would you like to, can I give him your number? And I was like, absolutely. So my mentor, he's a guy that's coached in the NFL, coached at the college level, and was a highly successful high school coach. I think he coached 30-something years. He had like 6 losing seasons in all those seasons. And the thing about coaching is, and especially as young coaches, and that's why I try to impact as many young coaches as I can, is when you learn the good habits early, it changes your perspective on the sport. And so I didn't learn a lot of X's and O's from my original coach, but it was a lot about how to build a program, culture, how to do things. And that has stuck with me all the way to the day. And so that's kind of how the beginning started.
Well, the famous line is, football is just as much about X's and O's as it is Jimmy and Joe's. And if you can, have those relationships with guys, especially younger players, rookies, that kind of thing, that can be just as important as being able to have the greatest plays and that kind of thing.
It's both. I'm a firm believer in coaching. Obviously having the Jimmys and Joes, you got to have that to be successful. That's not, but when it comes to good football games, to me, coaching wins every single time. It's, you watch the NFL and all the blunders that happened this year, that's coaching. And so at the level where you have the best of the best players, again, it's always going to come down to coaching, game management, how you build your culture, motivational things, all those things. And so I'm huge on all those things. It's again, I a long time ago got the nickname the professor, and it's just stuck. And I'm a teacher, and like I said, you go through life, and people always think they can coach football. So from the sidelines, they think, hey, you should call this, you should have did this, you should have, and it's so funny. But I would put my job against an architect, an engineer. I use high level analytics. I use things that nobody else that I know does. I put a great deal of time into my craft. And so, I don't think there's anybody in the world that can do what I do. And so I've developed a system. I love it. And we've had a lot of success with it. And I don't see me changing anything that I'm doing anytime soon. And I think I could coach another 20 years.
We love it. We want to see it. Let's go back to the beginning of your coaching. Where did you said you had a friend of yours that said, I need a coach, and where was that? And then talk about that process of going from playing, you're 20 something years old and all you've known is playing, but now it's like you're going to go to the next level, that next space.
Yeah. So the high school he hooks me up with is it's called William Hinckley High School in Colorado. My mentor was Coach John Pounder, rest in peace. Just a huge impact on my life. Just somebody I stayed in contact with until he passed away. But I came into that situation just a young man and trying to, didn't really know about coaching. And so he just threw me into the fire. Hey, you know what? I'm going to give you this high level position and off you go. And I was just like, okay, and I'm just, that's me. I'll take on any challenge and I'll figure it out. So I jump.
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. I jump in a car.
Forged in
I
fire.
go.
Forged in fire.
Right.
Yeah.
I know a guy at University of Oklahoma. I go see him. I went to LSU. I went to all these places and just talked to people I knew. I went to, things like the Glazier clinics. I went to all these things and just developed a bunch of knowledge. And so, here I am, head coaching a low-level team, and we went undefeated. And I kind of knew at that point it was like, I think I got something. And that was huge. And so the next year, he's like, all right, you're going to be on the varsity level, and we're going to make you a co-defensive coordinator. And I'm thinking, here I am, an offensive guy. I really don't know how to coach the defense. I haven't developed those type of skills yet. And so I'm like, well, why? And he's just like, trust me, just that's what you're doing.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I don't want to let him down. I don't want to let myself down. So again, I go back on this spring. Hey, call everybody I know. Hey, let me come sit down with you. Hey, what's this? What's that? Develop a defense. We had a state record, 28 interceptions, 9 returned for touchdowns, and we were in a pretty running conference. I was like, you know what? I think I have something. And so stayed there. We had a great deal of success and a lot of kids D1.
But the kids bought in. The kids bought into what you were doing. They looked at you and said, "Hey, you were able to say like to yourself, hey, I'm not sure, but they bought into you."
1,000%. I remember a line early, and I know probably some other people have heard it, and they say, kids don't really care what you know till they know that you care. And that was a line I heard early, and it was huge to me. So I was the coach that, I took over everything. I took over our spring ball program. I took over the weight room. I took over, I'd be in the building walking around talking to teachers. Hey, is this guy missing homework? Give it to me. I'll take him down to the office and I'll make him do it. And so I built this reputation of just going above and beyond the call of duty. I took the guys to 7-on-7 camps in the summer, to the college camps. I did all this stuff. And again, just to think of how much I made my first year, it was, I started in January and didn't get paid till November. And it's like, and that's the funny thing is, there's a lot of people out there that look at coaches and like, oh my God, they see the guys on TV and it's about the money and, oh, these guys make all this money. It's, that's the funny thing about our business is you can't guarantee to make yourself a full-time wage ever. You really can't. It's there's coaches that have been in high school for 25, 30 years and it's a part-time job. It's a very small amount of money.
Right. They teach, during school day and then their football coach afterwards, but it's not for a couple of hours. It's a lot of work and time.
Absolutely. So, like I said, and they talk about that a lot early in your career is, if you're doing this for the money, it's just the wrong business for you. And it's really true. And so, you're putting in, you're making a penny an hour. I'm doing all this stuff, driving my car all over the place, taking kids, taking the school vans, doing all this stuff. But it's rewarding and the kids kind of understand. And so we had some incredibly successful seasons early on. Next thing you know, I got a call from a friend of mine, who was with the New Orleans Saints. And he was like, hey, I think you should put in for this internship. At that time offensively, we were, one of the top teams in the country, averaging over 60 points a game. We had 3 defensive Division I players on our offense. And so again, I'm starting to get some of that love and again, I'm headed in the right direction. And so interviewed for the Bill Walsh Minority Internship Fellowship with the Saints with about 4,000 other applicants. Don't think I'm going to get this thing. There was really no thought that I was getting it, but it was just something, hey, I want to give this a shot. So next thing you know, I get called for an interview, go through the interview. I'm prepared, but I've put so much into football that there's just really not anything that I'm not ready to be asked or answered. And so again, So boom, I go through the interview and didn't hear from him. And then next thing you know, I got called in for the second interview, and I was like,
There's a chance.
maybe
Mhm.
am I going to get this? And
Maybe I
next
got
thing
a shot at this here.
and next thing you know, they gave it to me. I still just, it's just an odd thing. It's just something that you just never think is going to happen. It's just not something in the game plan. It just was just out of the blue. And next thing you know, I'm arriving in a Metairie. I'll never forget. They pick me up in a in a limo and take me to the facility at Metairie, and I'm fully in a suit and I'm dressed to the nine, and I've got my briefcase, and I come in, and I was there with Coach Hazlitt, and he's like two things: A, take that suit off, you're making the rest of us look bad, and he asked some other personal questions that I would, but it was just the funniest thing, and I was like, God, I'm really here. And so he was a player's coach. He was he's like I am now, and I kind of fed off of his energy of just being a coach. And so for me, my first meeting there was 6 a.m. The last meeting was 11 p.m. I mean, I'm burning 20 hours a day just learning. And so that's the difference between, and it's no different from players moving from high school to college to pros. I get in a room with a bunch of guys that are, longtime NFL vets, and they're speaking a language I don't know. And I'm looking around the room like, oh my God, like as good as I have been in my career, I just didn't know that I didn't know these things.
Right.
So I'm looking around like, please don't ask me a question now. I'm nervous. So.
And it's almost like a different language. Like, you speak Spanish and you learn in school, but then you go in, now you're learning with fluent speakers that live in a certain, you know what I mean? Like, so you might know some of the words, but boy, this is a different language. I better learn.
Totally different. So I'm listening to them, and they're saying stuff, and I'm like, I really don't even know what they're talking about. Hope they don't ask me a question, but I'm going to suck it in. I'm going to listen to every word. So I take my playbook. I go back. I literally stay up for like 72 hours straight. I think I slept like 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I go through this book and dissect it. And so I'm a cerebral person. I'm a, straight A student. I'm all these things. So I'm a cerebral guy. So I'm like, I have to learn this quick because, Coach has us like, look, you're coming in on this program, but if you don't coach, I'm going to fire you. So he says that on day one. So I'm like,
Thanks.
Okay. So I'm even more nervous now. So I take the book, and we had a great staff. Obviously, Mike McCarthy was the offensive coordinator there, who just left the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm a Dallas guy. You know that. Oh no.
So and
great coach.
No, he is
very good.
He needs to be not in Dallas anymore.
Well, he's not.
Situation.
Now you got Schottenheimer, but
that's right.
So like I said, just great staff. Winston Moss. Just Keith Venturi. Al Everett, just great, some of the greatest minds in the NFL. And so for me, it's just be a sponge. Mm-hmm. So I'm working these crazy hours. I'm still waking up, working out, doing all my things. I'm waking up at 4:30, so I'm in the weight room, getting some cardio in, and there's Coach Hazlitt. And so, we see each other in there quite often. And he just kind of looks at me one day and he's like, yeah, you're kind of sick like I am, aren't you? And I was just like, yes, I am. And so we'd get out of a meeting and we'd have some time off, and I'd just be like, Coach Hatz, can I go sit in with Winston Moss, or can I go sit in with so-and-so? And he was just like, you do so much, just, you don't have to ask anymore. Just do your thing. So I just became a sponge, and it was the single biggest moment of my coaching career was sitting around with nothing but top end coaches and learning the game. Mm-hmm. So I already knew I came in under a June Jones' system, or a run and shoot system. It was my first offense with my mentor. And again, I wasn't really a fan of it, but again, when you work for somebody, it's their thing, it's their baby, and you've got to learn how to be productive in it and be valuable in it. So, I wasn't a fan of that. Get into the West Coast offense, and it's just phenomenal. It's just everything that I would want an offense to be. It's you need to be cerebral. There's all these different things that you have to do. You got to know all these kind of things. It's break the huddle. It's having great defensive recognition. It's put us in the right protection, and then make sure that you understand in the play where the ball should go in a quick amount of time. And that was everything I wanted in an offense. And so I still use those exact same principles that came from, obviously Bill Walsh's, West Coast system.
I was going to say, it was the Bill Walsh Fellowship, and you're running the offense that Bill Walsh made famous in San Francisco in the 80s.
Absolutely. So just, just the whole process of that. It was probably the single moment where I learned the most about football in 1 year. And so going through that was eye opening. It was humbling. But after that, I think just the level of my coaching went from what I thought to be really good to what, if that was really good, was phenomenal. And so I come out of that and I got my first, coaching. Obviously, I came from the other side. There's two distinct footballs that are played inside. There's indoor football, which is obviously the side that I played and began my coaching career in. And then there's the arena. And so the funniest thing is earlier in my career, I had AF2 teams reaching out and I couldn't stand the game. I was like, God, this is just a one-on-one game. It's you don't need to know much about football. You just line up, you go one-on-one. And to me, it wasn't enough. And so obviously in the other league, it's played, the rule book came strictly from the CFL. So it's more true. It's more simple. It's easier to get younger guys into it because cover two is cover two, cover three is cover three. We don't have those things in the arena side. And so the funniest thing is, I began on the other side, had a very successful career on the other side. And then I chose to come over because after I started to watch the game more, I was like, I really think I could change that game. I did some things obviously in the other league that a lot of people do now. So just some things that I added to them was, adding a second linebacker into the box, which I actually got from arena football. So the funniest thing is some of the things that I did was a crossover between both games. So the funniest thing, I started as a defensive coordinator. My first big time job was as a defensive coordinator. So coming as a defensive coordinator, a buddy of mine coaches in the AF2. I say, man, I'm gonna come by and see you and let's talk about your playbook. And so Quinn over and I'm seeing, God, you got two linebackers in the box in an indoor game that just seems, but I was like, we run the ball a lot. Maybe I could shut down the run game with these two linebackers. So there was rules and stuff that you had to have to use two linebackers, and I started to do that. We played a game in 2004 with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We had 7 picks. And so I was, there was just things. And then you see other teams start popping up with 2 linebackers. Offensively, same kind of thing. I do whatever my team needs to be. It's when I was young, it was, here's my system. You need to be the kind of person that I could plug into these several spots. As I've got older, I'm going to start with this base set of things that we're going to do. And then I'm going to let you build your own identity. And so, so obviously, one of my last years on the other league, it was, we didn't have a very good offensive line with very good running backs. And we had a bunch of great receivers. And one of those being Markel Wade, who's here now. And so we put in an RPO system, and Jake Medlock, who was here last year, was there as well. So we had to build that identity. And so we built a very sophisticated RPO system. And again, we were number 1 in offense. And now that league has turned more RPO than anything else. And so there's all these shifts and flows that happen. And so as the game is shifting, so 19 was my last year on the other side. And it was, now everybody was kind of running the same stuff. And it just wasn't enough for me at that point. So I was either at a quandary. Do I go back to the outside game? I've been inside so long at this point, I kind of want to stay inside. And so just, again, all the crossover is that was the funniest thing is arena coaches all thought they were the best coaches in the country. So I love that challenge. And I've done that so many times in my career where somebody's supposed to be the best and I just want to beat them.
Right.
And so, I'm listening to all the cockiness of the arena guys who think they're better than the indoor side guys. And I was like, I just got to do it. So I started studying up on just arena football, just going through all the films. And I'm like, look, there's so many things they don't do that I think I could do. So long story short, get here, obviously in 21, with all the change coming off of COVID, which COVID really gave me the most passion for my sport that I've ever had. When you lose something, I was just lost of where I'm sitting at home like,
What am I going to do now?
I got to have football. I can't do this. I don't want to do anything else. I just don't, I do real estate and I'm fine doing the real estate, but I was like, I don't want to do anything else. I'm fine doing but I have to have my football. So I was really at the point where it's just, man, this is horrible. Please let us go back to work. So boom, finally COVID starts coming to an end. People start opening up, coaches start calling, teams start calling owners, and I'm just like, yes. So, Coach Manas calls me to come up here. It was just a great, perfect timing. It was just, I kind of went through the COVID with another indoor team, and I just didn't really feel it. It just wasn't really what I wanted. I wanted a different challenge. Mm-hmm. So boom, come here. Like I said, funny is my first interview was with Jeff Levac on the ESPN radio show. Yep. And so he asked me, he's like, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do offensively. And I say, we're going to run the ball. And, I know he gave me that look like, this is arena football. There's just no way we
throw it around here,
and I just said, man, I said, you'll see. And so the funniest part, we played Columbus, the Lions, our first game, and our first touchdown was like a 35-yard run by Derrick Ross, and the rest is history. I've been number one in rushing since that time, and even when the year that we don't discuss, even when I went down to Orlando, mm-hmm. I turned them into the number one rushing team. So to me, proof's in the pudding. I'm a you got to prove it kind of a person. There's a lot of people that say they're great at things. You got to have something to prove it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you say you're smart, show me your report card. You know what I mean?
Right. Prove it.
I can pull mine out. Here you go. I'm 4.0. My son can pull his out 4.0. You got to have something to prove it. And so people think all these things. So, all right, I'm going to come in. You look at Columbus that year in 21, they had the number one defense that year, and we torched them on every single time. And so I knew I could change certain aspects of this game. So the funniest part about arena football is everybody, because it began in the 80s, everyone has this idea of what it has to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm the professor. I'm not going to let you tell me that I have to be in this tiny little box. And if I don't do it, I'm giving arena football some, bad image. Right. And so I have all these coaches, and I sat down with some guys that are supposed to be the best, and they're showing me stuff on their offense. And I'm just like, I'd rather go back to outdoor ball. If that's it, I'm out of here.
Right.
I'm done.
Like, for a fan, like what you've done in terms of running the ball, I love it. Because because honestly, like it creates challenges that people aren't prepared for, and even when they do, they know it's coming. They still can't stop it. So to me, as a fan, we thank you for being innovative, because there ain't nothing worse than watching the same thing over and over again and not having any kind of progress. So I thank you for that.
And it's so true, because there's so many teams that a lot of the older guys that just do the same things, and it's like they all did a cookie cutter, and so I was. You look back at the history, and I love the history of any sport. And so, of course, you want to look back at things. And so, I've now got to be around some of, quote unquote, the best players and the best arena people of all time. And so, but sitting down with them, they all really say the exact same stuff. And I just don't, I never could be in a box like that. So I come, hey, I'm just going to take this rule book, I'm going to dissect it, and I'm going to figure out ways for us to be different. Mm-hmm. And so in 21, we showed everybody, hey, even with a guy that's older that didn't want to do a bunch of crazy changes, mm-hmm. with Tommy Grady. And so, like I said, he, it made me laugh. We're in a meeting, and he's like, "Oh, Coach, you really do know this run game stuff, don't you?" And I said, "Man, this is how I make my money in the outdoor game, is with blocking assignments in the run game. This is how I make my money. This is how everybody calls me. And if anybody wants me to do a clinic, they're going to start with that. It's going to start up front." Mm-hmm. So, boom, we put in the system, and I'm like, you got to understand, here we're in a passing game. If we just throw the ball every period, you have 3 linemen that just pin their ears back and come off the ball as hard as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. So they have the advantage at that point.
No doubt.
There's certain things that they can do to dissect the plays. There's certain things that I would do to dissect the plays, and I'm going to have the advantage on getting off the ball. So I'm like, if we sit there and just do that every play, you're going to get blasted. You're going to get hit all these times unnecessarily. And then only problems happen when your quarterbacks take huge shots. There's nothing good happens when your quarterback takes a huge shot and has to pick himself.
They get happy feet too.
Timing speeds up. They get happy feet, all those things. So I was like, There's just no way we're going to stand back here and throw the ball 100% of the time, even though that's probably what he wanted. So I said, no, we're not going to do that.
Do you consider yourself an innovator in the arena game?
1,000%. 1,000%. Like I said, I just do things. So, I brought shotgun in 22. We had, Sam, which I'm so happy to get back this year, bringing him over. And so we had a veteran that came in Mike Faithful, and a guy that had won a championship with Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, Sam was just playing well. And so I was, so we got down and played our first game. We lost our first game with Faithful. And I just saw some things in Sam that I knew that we could use to be really good. And so we made the change. I mean, that's unheard of too. And, that's the thing is, we get all these questions about players. Are they coming back? And this, that, and the third is he's got to let me do my thing. I know exactly what I want to have in every single person on the team. And I would, anybody wants to come sit down and come in my office and shut the door and talk about, again, about athlete recruiting. I'd love to make that happen and just kind of show you the method to the masses. I don't think there's anybody that does the things that I do. And like I said, that may sound cocky. I don't care. Everybody that comes and, take all the players on our team that's come from other teams and just ask them, what's the difference between being here and being wherever you were at? And they'll tell you there's a huge difference. And so it's part of it.
Now, when you earlier you had said that, early your younger days in your career, your goal was the system, but as you got more experience and more seasoned, it became more about how does this guy help us win? Meaning, do things that allows that player to be successful. Is that a big part of the ability? Does that help you in recruiting in the end?
Everything does. But like I said, in the early days, it was all right. I've built my system. I got to find guys that will be good at these pieces. Mm-hmm. And that's tough to do because athletes are so different across the board. So it was like, this guy has some of these attributes I want and some not, but I'm going to put him here. And then you end up struggling and then you can't execute well. So I was like, a few years in, I don't think that's the right way. And for me, I'm always learning. I'm always talking to other coaches. I will sit, even if I learn one sentence, I'll let you talk for an hour. If I learn one sentence, that's a tool that I put in my toolbox that I'll use at some point. So I never stop learning. So, and that includes myself. I look at myself after every game. There's a reason and there's a method. Obviously, I'm not going to tell my trade secrets, but there's a reason we're so hard to stop offensively. There's a reason. There is a method. There is a system that is in place to make sure that we will always be effective offensively. And nobody's figured it out. No one will ever figure it out because there's a system to it. And I will not tell why. But so for me, it's just constantly learning, constantly evolving. So now I start training camp with a very base, small set of offense plays. I let the players get used to that. I teach them, here's all the things that we need to think about. Here's a defensive recognition. Here's what we need to do. Here's all these. And this is what we'll do. And then I just sit back and I watch. And so hey, like I said, our practices are very, very detailed. Won't give all those trade secrets away either, but they're very detailed. So I have a way of how I'm going to watch and see what we're going to become. And then it's the way that I evaluate. There is a huge process that we must do every day. I'm sure young coaches probably hate to work for me. Not that they'll ever say it, because they're going to take everything that they're doing. They're going to use it. They're going to use it in their career. I guarantee it. But coming into it, you probably don't think you're going to work as much as I'm going to make you work. We're going to go over every detail every single day. And so, yes, we're going to be training camp's tough. One of my favorite times, but I'm exhausted. I'm walking sleep. I mean, that's how tired I'm going to sleep 2 hours a night. I'm going to be in football all day, but it's just what you got to do. And so we're going to spend a ton of time to evaluate every single player. We recruit 35 of the best players in the country. And so to watch them battled out for 24 spots, it's a process. And so I tell our coaches every day is don't be the reason that a guy never plays football again because we didn't do our due diligence or we didn't give him enough time. And so it's a huge, like I said, I go through a huge process, and it's young coaches have to learn it. It's what we have to do on a daily basis. It's all the hours and all of the film studies and evaluations. and we do it daily.
Mhm.
I'm sure when I was young and I was, like I said, working those 20 hours when I was with the Saints, I'm sure I felt the same way. Like, Jesus, this is insane. But when you get to a place where you understand that all of these elements are important,
Mhm.
then you start to realize, Jesus, how could I ever not put this time into it? And so, but that's also my thing too, is with young coaches is I had a great mentor who taught me the basis of being a great coach. And without him, I don't know what I would have been. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Maybe your thing changes.
Exactly.
So,
And so that's what I want to be is, earlier in my career, I wanted to hire the best of the best and the smartest guys in the room and all those things. And that can be okay. Sure, it could be. But now I want to bring young coaches I can help but I just want hard workers. That's one thing is there's so many coaches that think if I'm the smartest guy in the room, anybody will hire me. I swear I pick the hardest worker every time. It's a guy that works hard because I can teach you the rest of it. You know what I mean? Like I don't need you to be the smartest guy in the room because I have a great handle on what we're going to do and what we're going to be. What I need is somebody that's willing to come in and put the hours and do the things that's necessary. And so it's been great bringing these young coaches in, teaching them the basics of being a great football coach, teaching them all these different elements and watching them kind of aspire their way through it. And so, like I said, our coaching staff this year is a bunch of great individuals, super excited to help lead them. But that's where I want to be later in my career, as I've been coaching a long time now. And it's like, I want to build my tree too. I want to have a bunch of little me's out there.
The way you describe it, the only coach that comes to mind is Belichick. Is someone who looks at every single detail, even down to the minute thing, and if it's not right, like it's got to be right. And he has his coaches, the McDaniels of the world and things like that. When he was in New England, where you're the same way, you're like, hey, I can take these coaches and give them the stuff that I know and kind of, give them that and then let them take it. Guys like Brandon Cisse and the guys that you have running, with you. Talk about those guys you started to talk about. I kind of cut you off, but talk about, the group you have this year as a coaching staff this year.
Yeah, naming Brandon Cisse as the defensive coordinator this year, huge for him. He works with me over at Hudson Valley, which his maturation through that process is what landed him here at this moment.
Mhm.
So I watched him bust his butt and do everything that we needed to do to help win a championship. And so it was great to watch him, and it was great to hear Coach Jones, the head coach over there, speak highly of him. And like I said, it was just great to, like I said, our desks are close. I just got to watch him every day. And who were the last two people in meetings? Him and I, always the last two to end our meetings every day. And I just watched him mature as a coach and do all the little things and take great leadership on the sideline. And, so after the season, I was like, hey, I want you to apply for the DC spot.
Mhm.
And I don't think he was probably thought that I was thinking that way. But I was like, I really want you to do it. So I said, I want you to I told him exactly what I wanted to do to apply for it. Here's what I want you to do, and I want you to present it to me. And like I said, the light went on, and I knew the light was going to go on as soon as I told him that. Soon as it was, I saw the motivation, the same motivation he had all year at HBCC. I mean, we had a phenomenal season, going 8-2. We let a game slip away that I think we could have, played the national championship game. So just to see a bunch of people with like-mindedness and working hard. Like I said, it's always the hardest workers that I want, to succeed. And so he's done everything, little thing. He's with me all the time, and I get to mold him, and it's just great to sit in the room and we go over all these details and then hear him talk, on some of our Zoom calls and hear a lot of, my verbiage and a lot of the things that I teach him coming out of his. I love it. It's such a great feeling to feel like that. And so I'm loving that process is kind of building the tree, bringing in Arthur Hobbs this year.
Mhm.
Another guy that's played here for several years. Great guy, knowledgeable, has been all the places that the players want him to be. He's spent a little time in the NFL, been a good player at this level. So again, him too, he's obviously lives in California, so he does most of the meetings on Zoom. He'll be here, I think, next week.
Mhm.
So, but just that process of showing these guys how to be, I love that feeling. And so I love hearing, as they're presenting their information to me. Like I said, I'm just a stickler for all the details. There's not one detail you're not going to have to share with me. If you plan on putting it in front of a player, it goes through me first. And so just seeing them do all these things, I'm just super excited. I think they're going to be great. Jordan Gooch, he was an intern with us last year. He also worked in Hudson Valley.
Okay.
Did a phenomenal job.
So we have a pattern of Hudson Valley to Albany Firebirds. Here you go.
I told the athletic director over there this could be a regular thing. I'm sure my family probably is like, "Oh Lord, you coach a lot." But we sat down and talked about just the importance. We just had a recruiting day like 2 weeks ago, and just the amount of people that are now coming aboard and want to be a part of Hudson Valley. It's awesome, and a lot of it is bringing a little flair to it. And so, I spoke to a lot of parents. There's not me just going to coach JUCO. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to do it. I don't. Again, it's my house, it's Hudson Valley and the arena, and it's just all close. And so I was like, look, I won't break the bank. I need, to be taken care of. But if you are willing to go through the process and obviously me not be able to be there for spring ball, if you want to go down this road, like I said, I do it.
I'm in it. Yeah.
And so, like I said, Coach Jones was phenomenal. He came up here actually, and we sat in my office for several hours and just talked about all the details of things. And, like I said, it's just different to have a person with a ton of experience on your staff. And so I told the parents at our recruiting day, there's not a lot of me's just wanting to coach this level. This is a tough level to coach at. But for me, I love what I do so much that I'm willing to give you everything I got. And then I tell my guys all the time, I'll never forget you. Guys that have been in the trenches with me, I'll never forget you. So when you leave here and go off to hopefully a Division I or Division II school and go on and have your career, if you send me a message, hey, coach, I finished my career. Here's my stats. Here's my film. What do you think? I'm going to remember you. And I said, that is a huge piece. And so I've got some phenomenal receivers that play for me right now. 2 freshmen that didn't start for us at the beginning of last season that are now they're phenomenal kids, and they're only getting better. And it's great to have a coach that's been there, done that at a bunch of levels. And so we're doing some fantastic things. And if I can help build that program up and guys get chances for professional football, that's going to be a great thing. But to get back to Gooch, he did a phenomenal job coaching the running backs there. So I, hired him to coach the running backs for me here. Another kid, I've never reminded me of myself. And I told him this, a couple of weeks ago. I said, I've never once looked to you in the face while we're telling you to do something and saw that look like I didn't want to do it. And that alone was, you're hired. Because there's a bunch of other people that think they're great coaches, and you tell them to do something and they're,
what am I doing? Why? What am I doing? Right.
I don't want none of those guys on my staff. If you don't want to work every single day, all day, and happy to do it, then just can't work for me. I don't care if I wake up sick, I got the flu, I don't care what I had. I've never, and I talk with my family all the time. I never wake up and don't want to go to work. Even if I'm sick as a dog. Can't wait to go to the office. Let me get some Halls, let me get some NyQuil, and I'm off.
When you're doing something you love, it's not work, right? It's just, hey, it's what I do, and that's it.
Well, I feel like, again, from the outside looking in, the amount of love that's for the program, like within the walls, only permeates outside the walls. Like, there's a lot of good that goes on that ultimately creates love for the game, on its own. So you guys are just breeding the love, quite honestly. Like, it's important.
I mean, and it's one thing, as I've told owners, I don't coach with 1 foot out the door. I get people call me and give me offers. I'm going to listen to it and talk to them just because that's the professional thing to do in networking. But as I tell them, if we can keep this thing going, I'll be here the next 10, 15 years. And I love, again, that the owners have said back to me that if you want to be here that long, you're here. And that takes a lot of the the weirdness of working different places out is when you know I trust the people over the top of me. They're all great businessmen. They're all doing their part, and they know for a fact I'm going to do my part. And that's a comforting feeling. And so, I could do anything I want in this business, but you know what? I love being a Firebird. I'll be here, if we can keep this thing rolling for the next 20 years, who knows? I'll be here for all 20 of it. I think I got 20 years still in me.
There you go.
I've coached for 30 years.
Is
20 more would be fun.
So you working in the indoor league and the arena and outdoor and everything else, what makes Albany different for you?
Blue collar. There's just something about just everybody I run into that's just a hardworking, good quality person. I don't think I've met anybody that I outright just didn't like anywhere around this organization. And that means there are so many good fans that would open their door to me and my family on any given day. And that's, again, and Cisse said that on his interview. It's just not just fans; it's family, and that's a great way to put it. Because, like I said, I laugh. I mean, my wife has a fan base. You look at my show;
Yep,
half
true.
the people on there are saying hi to her, and I'm like,
No doubt.
but that's family. That there's a ton of fans that talk to her on a daily basis, and it's just you don't really get that. We've been a lot of places in my career, and you don't get that very many places. I know plenty of places I've worked where interacting with fans was zero, other than, high five after the game or a conversation after the game and an autograph or something, but that was very superficial. Here it really is. We spent a great deal of time together building up, Flock U. Just even coming up with the name, I came up with that name, and it was like, all right, let's do Flock U. And it just took over. And, every week, I mean, we got 40, 50 people that show up.
That's cool. No,
and see us.
What
And
you want,
how can I ever get tired of that?
They come and hang out at Apex or Hooters or wherever you guys are doing your show, the Wednesday show.
Wherever we do it, they come, and that's such a great feeling. And they're there, happy, cheering. Like I said, it's such a good, comforting feeling. Like I said, I just can't see myself anywhere else. It's now, do I still have love for the outdoor game? I do. And that's why I go and head coach those college all-star games, because I get my little piece of the outdoor game, and it's fun and exciting, and get to install and still run some West Coast offense and put guys in great position. And, again, the last couple of years, I've lost my first game just a couple of weeks ago, but have so much fun. And there's so many kids that reach out to me just on social media or by phone calls. And so I get that little piece too. And so, like I said, if I can do that every year and I can keep this thing going and, obviously, going over to Hudson Valley and getting that piece of it, I'm just in heaven. It's crazy how many hours I worked probably this year, but, other than the wife probably a little mad at me, and I owe her a vacation. Other than that, it's my life's perfect. I mean, I can't complain about anything.
I wanted to ask another thing. You kind of brought it up a little bit just a second ago. In other places you've been the coach. Now you're both the coach and the general manager here. The fact that you have, you're getting the guys and you're coaching the guys. How is that different than some of the other stops in terms of being that general manager piece, that administrative piece, more than just on the field coaching the guys' 50-yard game?
I mean, all of my stops, I've been, a main recruiter, because that's just my thing. It's my favorite piece is to find guys and decide if those guys can help us win a championship. So I've always done a great deal of it, but to be instrumental on just the whole business side, it's a lot of work. To be at all the meetings, the functions, go read at schools and go to all these business meetings and, league meetings and all these things. It's a lot of work, but I love this. I love this organization. I love our brand. We were at Madison Square Gardens, and I'm proud with my brand in Madison Square Gardens last night. I love our organization. This is a special place, and like I said, I just want to keep winning championships for this town because they're just such good people. I mean, I can't say anything less than they've been absolutely phenomenal and embraced me and my family. And any coach I bring in, any player I bring in, they embrace. Flock support is done. They've taken it to another level.
Very special.
Yes.
What Denise and Steven have done has been just phenomenal because it's hard to, I've been on the road my whole adult life. So it's nothing to me, but for somebody that maybe is doing it on the first time, it's tough. It's tough to go, be in a hotel or an apartment and a bunch of strangers and not have family and friends to turn to. It's hard.
We talked to DJ, and he was from Georgia, and he said it was the first time, coming up to New York and just having that support. It was a big deal for him. For just for one example.
I mean, but it's huge. It's they provide, and just incredible stuff. I'm seeing these brand new backpacks and I'm opening it up like, oh my God, like there's 50 things in there, and I'm just like, that is just insane that you guys are embracing these young men that come here and put their bodies and minds on the line for entertainment. But Flock Sports just been that's you. It's just again, they're going to do something special for the day the guys come in this year. And man, like I said, I just love what we're doing. We're different, and you can ask any player just that's came here from somewhere else, and they'll tell you it's different here.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I love that there's so many players that get calls from players that have been here and left or been here and still here. And they just like, man, coach, I hear it's, this is, real football there. And, my thing is, and I ask all the kids in the interview process, okay, well, what's the difference between us and the NFL? And if you give me a stupid answer, I don't want you because there's nothing different other than our game's a little different and the money. Other than that, do we need to attack the day just like they do? Absolutely. Do we need to do all the little things they do? Absolutely. Do we need to plan and prepare the way they do? Absolutely. So if you don't want to work, don't come here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hate it here. If you don't want to work, you'll hate it. Like I said, during training camp, I tell the guys, you don't get any free time. I'm not even gonna give you a chance to go out and do something stupid or ruin your career right off the bat. So I'm keeping them in football 7 days a week. Once I cut down again, I'll give them a little day here, a day there, but I keep you busy in football, and it's by design. I don't give you a bunch of free time. I want you to have fun. We'll have fun together, though.
Well, I wanted to talk about that too. Like, camp is starting the 20th, so we're getting very close to having these guys come. How has it been getting ready, on your end and on the other coaches, just to get ready to have these guys in here and get 2025 going?
Yeah, like I said, we've from a coaching staff, we've met all off season. We meet 2 to 3 times a week. It's great having a lot of coaches local, and that's also by design. It's wonderful having Coach Cisse here, where we can spend a couple days a week together. Coach Bowick, my offensive line coach, phenomenal human. Everybody is just like I said. Coach Gabe, just all the businesses he runs here. I call him the mayor. Every time I go out with him, 5,000 people, say hi to him, and 200 people say hi to me. I'm like,
can't go anywhere with him.
You know what I mean? He knows everybody. He's highly respected in the community. So we just have a great group of people that are all here. So that's by design. And so I'd like to keep more local because we could just do more.
Yeah.
We could be at events together. We can be at things. We can do things. And I think that's important. And so
it is.
Brought in Hobbs, obviously Hobbs coming from California. So he'll be here, like I said, next week, and we'll spend a bunch of face time. But right now it's all the details. So I do, a majority of the recruiting work with my director of scouting, Coach Johnson. We do all that portion, and that's by design. It's him and I have built such a synergy of knowing exactly what we want. We've built systems that we know exactly, and I've taught him exactly the things that I want. And again, we have this great synergy between him and I on just doing all the little dirty work. I mean, it's just exhaustive. I mean, we recruit, there's a player that, had 3 meetings set up 3 days in a row, and he made me go first. And I was kind of like, I'd probably lose him. And so it was 3 outstanding coaches. And so I went first, and I went through my process, and I have a real exhaustive process of recruiting and talking and getting to know people, and then some cerebral pieces, some psychological pieces. So I go all out in my recruiting. And so he went with another very good championship, coach, and had him, and then another championship coach after that. So I was kind of say the best for last. Let me go last, but made me go first. And then he called me after a couple of days and was like, "Yeah, Coach, I'm choosing you. You just do things that other people don't do." And that makes me feel so good, because
that's big.
I don't want to be like anybody else. I've never in my life been I didn't have posters of Michael Jordan on my wall. I don't want to be like anybody. I want to be like me. And I have built a system that I love. I love my guys. I will give them everything I got. I will give you from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll give you everything I got to make you a better player. I guarantee that to every player in recruiting. I will guarantee I'll make you a better man and a better player. I'll guarantee it. And so I put my coaches through so much. Now, remember, I promise these kids that they're going to get better. So I make my coaches do all of these little things. And so it's a lot of stuff that we do that other teams just don't do, but it's all by design. And like I said, I want to build and bring in the most wonderfully charactered guys, great athletes that have a ceiling that could be hugely high. And I just want to help them all get there. And so last year was a fun team. We had so much fun together. And most teams that make it to the championship game, there has to be that togetherness piece. And so we had a really good time with each other. We did a lot of team bonding, a lot of stuff. And again, like I said, I don't give a ton of free time, because we do need to spend that time together. We do need to have that togetherness. And so,
And that comes from your work, doing that culture and team building and all that. That comes from that.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you for your generous amount of time this evening.
Absolutely, 100%. You spent an hour almost, so I really do appreciate it.
So
absolutely. Well, we got to get these views up over.
That's right. We got to double it. I think.
Ben and Nick are on the clock. So, but
any
again,
questions from any of the fans? Do we need to see if there's anything anybody wants to know?
There wasn't a lot of questions. There were a lot of complimentary comments.
Oh yes.
Nothing really stands out in terms of questions. There was a question about a new running back, I think, was asked, but other than that,
I'm sure that's Dave. Dave is.
I believe that was. Yeah.
He's a phenomenal fan. He, like I said, he keeps us on our toes. Is if the website is wrong, he's all over.
Yep.
I almost fire him. I mean, I should almost just give him a role. And just you are the roster coordinator. Dave, if you want to be the roster coordinator, I can't pay you, but I'll just.
It looks good on a resume. Right. Roster coordinator.
I'll give you the title. But he's phenomenal. So. Yes, we're going to announce a running back here pretty soon. We lost a kid that we were high on, and so there. Like I said, I'm very detailed in that approach. So there's 3 people I'm working with that all could fit the role that we need them to fit. We'll get that done. Probably, maybe even as early as tomorrow. I've got a call with one of them tomorrow morning. I think I got a call with the other one maybe in 2 days. So over the next couple of days, we'll finalize. It's really the last piece to our roster is just one more running back. Obviously, we have Trayvon Shorts. And so, again, he'll be a heavy part of the running package as well. But and then, obviously, Sam does a wonderful job of being a runner from a quarterback spot. So, not that I want him to do a bunch of running, but he's just got a phenomenal ability that I would have never saw coming until 22, and so he's done nothing but continue to get better. And like I said, it's rare to get a quarterback at the top of his game and keep him around for a few years. So it's actually super fun to kind of have helped him on his road, and then he's gone on and done some really good things and get him back, and he's back home. So like I said, I'm super excited about him. But Dave, we'll have that last piece coming up pretty soon, and then you can finalize your posts in the Flock Nation group with our 35th guy.
There we go. You got 37 days until you head to the Kia Center to play the Orlando Predators, the rival. Talk about that first game, going on the road, going to Florida. Just real quickly, talk about getting prepared for Orlando. Is going to be a heck of a rival. Always have been.
Yeah, Orlando's just been getting better and better. Just happy. Again, I got to spend time with EJ Burt in 23 when I was down there. So, phenomenal guy, phenomenal player. Did big things, obviously, as from a player aspect, and he's doing a great job of coaching that team. Last year we had some great games. I mean, we had beat them pretty handily, over the last couple of years, and last year he put together one heck of a team. They've signed some really good kids this year. Seeing the owners meetings, I said, hey, we should have some more fun games this year. So starting off with a real tough game, obviously that's a challenge, and being on the road. So we've got a lot of work to do, obviously, in camp to get ourselves prepared for that. But a great moment. If there's any place that I want to go besides being here at the MVP, is Orlando.
Mhm.
We just have the best two arenas. And so again, when you're playing the games in these beautiful buildings that are set up nicely, it just makes you feel more professional. So I absolutely love, going there. It's obviously still cold in March. So getting a little break from this weather. This has been,
Oh yes.
last year weather was great. I think
Yeah,
there was
this
like
year
one
it
little
sucks.
snow last year. This year it's, man, all these negative degrees, and every day I wake up and come outside and I'm mumbling under my breath every morning. It's been a brutal year. So be happy to get out of the cold and get down to the sun. But that's a beautiful building to play in. They'll have a raucous crowd. We didn't get to go there last year, so I know their fan base is going to be chomping at the bit, ready to see us. So it's going to be, I'm sure, a packed house. It's going to be, just a brutal game. And so, like I said, both teams got a lot to prepare for. We started with them last year and the year before. So these are just tough games but that's the great part about our game is, our division is going to be tough. I mean,
Mhm.
every game is going to be tough, but I love it like that. I don't want to beat anybody 100-20. That's just not fun for me.
No.
I will give my card to Jordan Gooch or Bowick, and you can call the rest of the game. I don't want to play those type of games. So every game, I want it to be a game that we've got to coach ourselves through the game, that we put our players in great positions to win, and we've got to be smart. Yeah, it's no fun doing we're up, 40-7. That's not fun to me at all. So I prefer the hard game. Some coaches probably like it easy. I love it to come down. And last year we had such a fun,
It's a
amount
great
of
season.
games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So anybody that hasn't bought tickets, you just got to. I mean, we have a phenomenal home schedule. It'll be a bunch of good games. And if you were here last year, you understand just how exciting these games
They're
were.
phenomenal.
Come support. You got to support us, and that's always the thing about professional sports. Without the support, the teams just won't last. And that's just a plea to everybody: is if you want nice things, you got to participate.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got to come down and see some games. It's, call me. I'll walk you through everything. But it's just, we need your support. And, this market has shown that they could put 10,000 people in a game every single week. Championship game being over 12,000 people. We know that we've got the kind of community that could do it. So again, let's start moving that direction. We're getting great fan support. So don't get me wrong, but let's get back to 10,000.
And the nice thing is that tickets, for a family of four and some concessions and stuff like that isn't, it's $100 maybe for everything. It's a really good price point, here in Albany, and to be able to come out and support and root on the Firebirds.
And then the coolest part is you can come down on the field and actually get close to people. You go to an NFL game, they've got security around the field, game's over, they can run by, throw a couple things in the stands, and they're down the tunnel. Here, you can come out. All of my players must spend 10 to 15 minutes on the field signing autographs. So you can come out, actually talk to them, ask questions, have your kid come out, get things signed. It's just a place where you can get close to the action, and our games are second to none. There's nothing like arena football. It's exciting from start to finish. There's scoring for the whole game. Again, it's not like an outside game where you could play some snow game and it's 6-3 is the final score and it gets a little bit boring. Our game is like a basketball game. It's constant action. And so I will guarantee you, if you bring people, they'll want to come back. So if everybody, again, I think our first game last year, we were a little over 6,000 in attendance. If every one of you just brought one or two more people with you, we'll get up there to that 10,000 range. We'll rock the house. We'll make this be the craziest environment in the league. And again, we can continue to try to push forward for dominance. I mean, there's not many people that can say, hey, every year we're going to compete for a championship. But I tell our players every year we'll compete for a championship because of how much work we put into this. And so you're going to see a good football team. I'm super excited about this team. It is some studs. You guys are going to love these guys. A lot of great character guys. I laugh in one of our little players groups. I mean, it's these guys are, having, church sessions, and these are some phenomenal kids. And I'm just super happy about the group that we're bringing in. They're going to be great out here in the community, and come out and support these kids because it's really for them, and them to continue to build value. And hopefully this year we pushed up quite a few kids to the UFL, which is huge.
Yeah.
The UFL is looking at our roster tough. I've been talking to a lot more UFL GMs obviously this year. So you're talking about and we have players on the team that are on the watch list. And so you're going to see some guys that are going to move up. We hope some of these guys can move up as far as the NFL, but get your chance to come see them, get to know them before they move on. It's a great time, a great experience. And we love our flock, and let's just pack the house.
Beautiful. Damon, again, thank you for all your time, and we look forward to covering the team this year and being here at MVP, and giving our fans, the fans of the Firebirds, a chance to get that inside stuff for you guys and talk to players and stuff. So, really appreciate it, and good luck this year.
Well, thanks for having me, and hope to be on here again after a nice win this year.
100%.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Coach.
All righty.